PlayStation just announced their new State of Play, but this time it's kind of crazy because they announced it 2 weeks in advance. So it's happening on June 2nd, but if you know anything about PlayStation and these State of Plays, they usually like to shadow drop when they actually happen. I don't know if homeboy over at PlayStation, maybe he slipped up on the scheduling, or maybe they're just doing this to drum up some hype. Either way, it's an anomaly because they're usually down low when it comes to game reveals. But if it's a price increase, oh, they're loud and proud about that. Sources say that it's going to be like an hour-long presentation, but we'll have to see because on the scheduling it says number one, they got a Wolverine extended look at the game. Everybody's hyped about that, of course. But what else is there going to be? Like, you can only look into that game so much without spoiling it. Throw in some indie releases, that's like maybe another couple 10 minutes, maybe another first party title, like maybe Intergalactic. I don't know. After all said and done, what then? And that got me thinking about just how game reveals used to be. And why now an hour just doesn't feel like a lot of time. It seems like we've hit a lull in the game reveal department. So that's why today I'm here to bring you back to E3. E3, known as the gaming showcase. If you were a gamer, game developer, game company, anything with the word game in it, you gathered at this convention. And rightfully so. This gaming convention had it all. It had gaming booths where you could play new demos, new gaming hardware, new energy drinks. But one of its biggest selling points was the game reveals. And they were lit. Just imagine 3 to 4 days of just planned out back-to-back hits. Like one day, you see a new Pokemon game pop up from Nintendo. You're like, oh my gosh. The next day, you see maybe an indie game or two. You're like, oh wait, okay, that's interesting. I might have to check that out. They got a booth? Oh, okay, bet. I'm going to it. The third and fourth days are when you really get into the nitty gritty because now you can see the power struggle firsthand. PlayStation versus Xbox. Whose reveals are gonna come out on top? Nobody knows, but you know they're gonna duke it out. You got people beefing online talking about Xbox gonna take this showcase. But now you got the PlayStation fanboys over here like, I don't know. Xbox really hasn't been good since like Halo 3. That's all y'all got. God of War 4 on the other hand, once that drops, it's gonna break the internet. Like, you really had to choose sides back then. That was until one side generationally fumbled and they deadass have not recovered since. Kind of crazy. It's been a decade. But let's say you didn't want to watch that dumpster fire. That's the beauty of E3. They had multiple days. So if you didn't want to watch one day, it's cool. Or if you were there, you just don't have to go to the main hall at that point. Me being a wee lad back in the day, you know, I was a broke high school kid. I definitely could not go. But you bet your butt during the summer when E3 came on, I ain't do nothing that day. I just sat down looking at them streams. I needed to know what was coming up and what I was going to burn my wallet on. I was getting paid $8.50 an hour, working at Rue 21, folding clothes and fighting off teenagers. With my hard-earned money, I knew I had to blow it somewhere, and gaming was the thing. But I didn't know which games, and E3 was there to guide me. And for that reason, game developers knew you had to put on a performance. Otherwise, you're getting booed.
Boo this man!
You're getting a tomato thrown at you, like you're getting hooked off that stage. E3 was a legit tournament arc in an anime. Like, you knew people were gonna show up and show out. So that's when it was sad to hear that damn 2020 done took another life from us. Because of that, they had to postpone everything until they came back the following year. They still tried to puff out their chests and be like, no, we still big E3. But it wasn't the same because everybody was tired of hopping on their Zoom calls. They said, no more, I'm done with Skype, I'm done with Zoom. I know people were hopping on TeamSpeak just to feel something. So that virtual year, people were still hyped for the games and whatnot, but the experience just wasn't there. It's just one of those things where you can't fake the funk. Hearing a crowd just roar and erupt when they see one of their favorite IPs return, It's just something magical about it. When they announced Kingdom Hearts 3, God of War 4, Final Fantasy 7 Remake, these were all amazing reveals. You just couldn't recreate that virtually. And so that was what really put the nail in the coffin for E3. But there's some devious handiwork going on behind the scenes at that time too. While E3 was holding a memorial, PlayStation's just rolling in the dough. You think they're loan sharks the way they collected payments. The PS4 is a viral hit. It's outselling Xbox like crazy. I think it was like 4-1. They knew they had to get these game releases off. This was the perfect chance to solidify themselves because Xbox was waning in power. They're for sure not worried about Nintendo because Nintendo has its own audience, its own thing going on. So they said it's time to make our debut. It's time for us to do it ourselves. We're now announcing State of Play. When I heard that happen, I was like, okay, I guess that's cool. But the problem was, Nintendo also wanted to follow suit. Like Nintendo, they always had their directs for quite a while. This is the first moment when they said, we're going all in on this. Like all of our releases are going to be through directs. So that's what led to, in 2022, E3 couldn't come back. The biggest competitors like PlayStation, Nintendo, and Xbox, like now they just don't want to join. What's the point? Why spend millions trying to show up at E3 when we can just do it straight from our offices? And that catches up the timeline to today, to the present. Because of the death of E3, we live in a fractured world where there's no avatar to bend all these consoles together. There's no one to compete with because everybody's just in their own lane. On one hand, you got Nintendo over here just worrying about family-friendly content and just providing people with nostalgia. While on the other hand, you got PlayStation. They're here to sell you an experience through first-party games and just new IPs to drive a narrative to you. And on your third hand, you got Xbox in their cardboard mansion holding out their cup saying, we stream some games. We got spare games. Don't get me wrong, I'm still appreciative of the showcases we have today. Just the quality is definitely different. PlayStation usually has a lot of good titles to show and like a good hype surrounding them, but their showcases are maybe an hour long, if that. Sometimes they're barely even 45 minutes, 30 minutes. Same with Nintendo Directs. Xbox with their showcases is actually the exact opposite. Is with their title appeal, it's not really there. You're not really expecting any big names to be at Xbox because they get way less eyes on it. But they're way more in-depth into the games and they're trying to like show you and give you the experience of why these games might just be the next upcoming ones. There is still one more showcase that I haven't talked about whatsoever, but it's an interesting one, and that is the Game Awards. So why am I bringing this up? Because it's called the Game Awards. As the name suggests, it should be about awards, not really game reveals, right? It is weird because, like I said, this is an award show. We're supposed to be here to give praise, appreciation, and recognition to these game developers that have made stunning games and really just hyped us up throughout this year. Ever since E3 shut down, there's twice as many previews at the Game Awards now. Jeff Keighley, the host of the Game Awards, he really started it all. He done put everything on his back to make these award shows really something memorable. I think just the rising cost and like the expansion of the venue, like it made him, have to take a little money on the side from the big corporations. In the first year, it was kind of like, oh wow, surprise, it's Zelda. Yeah, check it out, it looks cool. We've now reached a point to where half the show is just the Game Awards and the other half is just game previews. But the confusion kind of kicks in because which one are you trying to do? Because now we got the pre-show, which is the show before the actual awards start, but now we're giving the awards out beforehand to save more times for the previews. It does seem like some of the awards have been pushed to the side to allow more of the previews to be shown, which is cool, but it kind of crowds the presentation because more companies want to get their game known and get their preview out there rather than the awards itself. From the very beginning, Jeff has tried to make this show somewhat of a hybrid between a game awards and a game preview show. But to prove my point, I'll let Jeff explain it himself.
This is a different kind of show for me. It's going to be a little bit like E3, a little bit like an awards show,
Deciding that to be the basis of the show isn't a bad idea, but just at this current point in time, they seem to be colliding with each other rather than synergizing with each other. But because of that, I think it puts Jeff in a crazy situation. Jeff Keighley has a chance to fill that E3 void. If he just decided and just tweaks the formula a little bit, he could really make something big here. Just imagine it. It doesn't have to be exactly like E3. It doesn't have to be 3 to 4 days long. It might just be easy to have 1 or 2 days, or maybe you can do a half day type of thing, where the first half is just showing game previews and whatnot, while the second half is just for the awards. Or you could just flip-flop them. That way you have the awards show first, people come for the awards, but the next they can stay and promote the game that just won an award. Like take for example Expedition 33. Imagine they won Game of the Year, next day rolls around, and the next they have the copies of the game that just won the award. That way players can just pick it up on the go. They'd be like, oh wow, okay, let me check this out. Let me do this. It's an amazing cross promotion right there. Either way, no matter which order you choose, I think it is just best to have 2 days for this event. 1 for the games, 1 for the awards, and so that way you have time for people to clear out that don't want to be for the awards or don't want to be there for the previews. You could just really expand upon this idea of having the game awards and previews rather than just meshing them together. Because as it stands, I feel like the game awards is only getting bigger and bigger. Eventually, you're gonna run out of space to just have the award show, but also these gaming previews. Otherwise, you're just gonna have a 7-hour show. This is just a rough draft though. I think it's a diamond in the rough, but it's still a diamond. If we tweak some of the details, we can really start to get that competitive edge back into the gaming market. And once we do, everybody profits. Gamers, game developers, me, you, your mama, your dog, your uncle's doctor, everybody. So Jeff Keighley, if you're watching this, hit my line. We can talk details.